Hello, everybody. I'm Corey Bondbrake. I'm going to be talking about ARFF requirements and how they relate to specifically Part 139, certificated airports. So we'll go ahead and begin. So what is ARFF? So ARFF is going to be Airport Rescue and Firefighting. That's what that acronym stands for. It's going to be the equipment and personnel to fight fires and rescue people from other disasters that happen on airports. And all Part 139 certified airports are required to have equipment and personnel based on certain factors that relate to the airports, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But some general requirements. So this is all going to be laid out in 14 CFR 139.319. It's a pretty long document. So I'm not going to go over every single little nitty-gritty detail of it, but I will go over some key points of it. So in there it says that every airport must comply with the appropriate airport index, which is laid out in 139.315, and we'll get into indexes here in a little bit and explain kind of what they are. So you'll understand a little bit more about that here in a little bit, but it also says that each vehicle must be equipped with two-way communication. So that's while an emergency is happening, they can talk to the other trucks, they can talk to the air traffic control, and other emergency agencies that might be responding to the same emergency. So all vehicles also must have a lighted beacon and also be painted to be seen at night. So a lot of times you'll see ARFF firefighting trucks at airports. They are painted either bright yellow or bright green. That's a little bit different than what you'd see on the street, where the classic fire truck red isn't really applicable here because of this regulation. And there it also says if prolonged periods of under 33 degrees Fahrenheit are expected in the area the airport is at, then you must have a storage facility for those vehicles. Most of the time they'll have one anyways, just to keep it out of the elements and protect their investment so they don't have to replace it so it doesn't rust and stuff like that. So it also says if you do have a vehicle that something breaks on it, something isn't up to par, you have 48 hours to fix it, or the airport must reduce commercial service and go down to the next index is what they call it. So they may not be able to take in as many planes or as big of a plane as they would until they get that truck fixed, if it's not within the 48 hours, of course. So some more general requirements. This one right here on the far left is really important. So the response must achieve the following. So 3 minutes from the time of alarm, at least one vehicle must reach the midpoint of the furthest runway serving air carrier traffic. So they have to be halfway there to the farthest runway within 3 minutes. And then 4 minutes after, all vehicles must reach this point. So just one has to at the 3 minute mark, and then all of them have to be able to reach that point at the 4 minute mark. A lot of the times, ARFF agencies will go above and beyond this, which you want to try and be the best you can, but you have to meet that requirement right there. So there's also some training that's kind of laid out in here. There's some advisory circulars that go a little bit more into depth on this, on specific training requirements and how it should be conducted, but in 139.319 it just says that there has to be an initial training when you get hired, a recurrent training every 12 months, and a live drill every 12 months as well. So that's simulating an actual emergency. And it also says in the training aspect that at least one individual must undergo recurrent medical training as well, so someone's prepared for that if they have to. I mean, normally you're gonna have medics as part of the team as well, so So every vehicle also must have access to the North American Emergency Response Handbook. It says this can be either a physical copy in the vehicle, or it can be via telelink or on an iPad or something like that is perfectly okay. And another important thing it talks about is the airport must ensure all access roads are usable in all weather conditions. So you can't have a road that's not used very often where you have a bunch of grown-up plants in the summer all over it where it's hard to find. You can't have snow, you have to plow it, obviously. You can't have it flooded, things like that. It has to be usable. So we'll get into airport indexes. So this is going to be determined by the length of the aircraft and the amount of departures. So it's going to be the longest aircraft with 5 or more departures on average, and that's going to determine the airport index. Those are all described in 139.315. But we'll get into indexes here. So index A is going to be aircraft that is less than 90 feet, so it's going to be the smallest index. You need at least one ARFF vehicle that is carrying 500 pounds of sodium-based dry chemical, halon 1211, or clean agent, or that truck can be carrying 450 pounds of potassium-based dry chemical and water with an equal amount of aqueous filming foam. Some people call that ARFF. To total 100 gallons for simultaneous application. So you have to be able to spray it at the same time. And this is laid out what the truck has to have in 139.317. So we'll go ahead and go on to index B. So index B is going to be between 90 feet but less than 126 feet. It must have the following. So you can either have a 1 vehicle option or a 2 vehicle option. So if you have 1 vehicle, it has to be 500 pounds of that same stuff described in index A, 1,500 gallons of water, and a equal amount commensurate, which means pretty much equal quantity of ARFF for foam to be sprayed on at the same time. If you have 2 vehicles, you have to have one with the agents that are described in index A, and then you also have a second truck that has water and the ARFF an equal amount. So the total quantity of water and foam production is at least 1,500 gallons. And you'll see as we go up in indexes, the gallons that they have to have will increase. So index C, 126 feet but less than 159 feet. You can either have a 2 or 3 vehicle option. It is up to the airport. So if you have 3 vehicles, you have to have at least 1 vehicle that is complying with index A standards, and then you have to have 2 vehicles that is carrying an amount of water, equal quantity of ARFF fluid, so you can spray them at both times, and it is equal to at least 3,000 gallons total. If you have 2 vehicles, 1 vehicle has to comply with the standard set forth in index B. It's going to be the 1 vehicle option that it talks about in index B. And then the second vehicle, it goes through the equal amount of quantity ARFF and the water, but it has to be equal to at least 3,000 gallons. So you see it just kind of steps it up with the amount here, and with the 2 vehicle option, they're saying we want you to comply with index B, where the 3-1, they have 1 vehicle that complies with index A. So it's kind of a trade-off there. It kind of equals out. So index D, aircraft at least 159 feet but less than 200 feet. You have to have 3 vehicles. There's no option on that. 1 vehicle has to follow index A standards, and then 2 vehicles have to carry that water, equal amount of ARFF fluid, and then it has to equal at least 4,000 gallons. So they're kind of stepping up the quantity there because you have a bigger aircraft to deal with, so a bigger fire potential. And then index E, this is going to be the last one. So this is for any aircraft that is over 200 feet. So a Airbus A380 would definitely qualify for this. So 3 vehicles have to have them. 1 vehicle has to comply with Index A, and then 2 vehicles, it's again that water, and then ARFF fluid, and then at least 6,000 gallons total between all 3 vehicles is what they want. So they kind of stepped it up again. So some questions to go along with the PowerPoint that I kind of came up with that we can find the answers to together. So within how many hours does an ARFF vehicle need to be fixed? So we talked about that under the general slides that we talked about. So that would be 48 hours. If not, then they have to reduce either down to the lower index, or if say they were index A, then they'd have to stop that commercial traffic. And then the next one down here, so that's going to be right here. So how are indexes for airports designated? So we talked about that. That's going to be the length and amount of departures. So it's the biggest aircraft that averages 5 departures from your airport per day. So what regulation describes general requirements? So that's going to be 139.319. That's going to be generally what you need standard-wise for your ARFF. And then how many people must go under medical training on an ARFF team? And that's going to be 1 individual that has to do that. So some sources here that I used. So there was 2 advisory circulars that I looked at. One was over training, and then so the training one is going to be the -17C right there, the second source, and then the -10E went over how you should go about procuring the ARFF vehicles. And then I have the 14 CFR Part 139 subsections that we discussed. That's where I pulled most of the information from. So I hope this video was helpful, and you guys have a great rest of your day.